TikTok compilation that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Yes, I have a Caesar, but that's not my name. Thou thinkest thou can doest this to me? We didn't land on Rome. Rome landed on us. As a matter of fact, we built it. I'm the emperor around here. You just live here. Not what thou knowest, is what thou can proveth. I took care of Rome, and now Rome is going to take care of me. I can guarantee you that. I didn't give a damn about no Spartans then. I don't give a damn about no Spartans now.
He sounds more like Denzel Washington than Denzel Washington himself. Gladiator is my #1 favorite movie, by the way.
I don't know if many people know this, but this is the real reason why Alice Cooper gave his life to Jesus. Watch this.
A lot of people say, I came to Christ because my love of Jesus. I came to Christ because of my fear of God. I totally understood that hell was not getting high with Jim Morrison. Hell was going to be the worst place ever. In fear, I came back to the Lord. But I went to another church, and that pastor preached the love of Christ, which now you put the two together, and it was exactly right. I knew who Christ was, Jesus Christ was, and I was denying him because I was living my own life, and I was living my life without him. I knew that there had to either come a point where I either accepted Christ and started living that life, or if I died in this, I was in a lot of trouble. And that's what really motivated
If you're
me.
wondering why there's such an urgency behind accepting Christ, I need you to hit that link below. And I say that out of love because we don't know when our next breath is. This could be the most important moment of your life.
It took me a while to really truly find Christ, so I do understand. I hear that Alice Cooper's dad was a Pentecostal pastor prayer. I believe had a lot to do with that.
Is one of the worst torture methods in human history. The Glasgow smile, also known as the Chelsea smile, is a particularly brutal and disfiguring form of assault. It involves cutting from the corners of a person's mouth up towards the ears. This violent practice is thought to have emerged in Glasgow, Scotland during the 1920s and 1930s, and the term Glasgow smile is believed to have originated from this city. While the act might have historical precedence, it became notoriously associated with Glasgow during this time. The method typically involves using a sharp implement, such as a utility knife or a shard of broken glass, to make the incisions from the mouth corners to the ears. The resulting injury leaves a scar that grotesquely resembles a broad, unnatural smile. The physical pain inflicted is immense, and the psychological impact on the victim is profound and lasting. A notable individual who has endured such an attack is actor Tommy Flanagan, who bears the scars of a Glasgow smile from an incident outside a bar in Glasgow.
The Joker has Glasgow smile. I forgot the guy's name, but let me know how you feel about this. And if you're from Glasgow, please share your input in the comment.
Guys, I'm warning you, genuinely, be careful seeing Longlegs. It is terrifying. Longleg, in the beginning of the film, Longleg, his legs come out of this TV screen, the movie screen. And I'm sitting there, the legs wrap around me, lift me off the ground, and he turns to me and looks me straight in the eyes, and he says, "It's legging time." I mean, people were throwing up, I peed. And I just want to say, if you guys don't watch a lot of horror movies, just be careful with this one.
I cried when Longlegs hit the stanky leg. The leg was simply too long.
This is one of the scariest foods in the world. Americans use it to make dog food, but adventurous Koreans serve it on their tables. Today, let's see what makes it so special. Workers start their day by cleaning cow intestines because cow intestines contain a lot of bacteria and some parasites. They have to clean them thoroughly. After cleaning, they remove the fat from the surface of the intestines. Once done, they place all the intestines on a plate for later use. Next, they put peeled garlic into a pot to steam. It only takes a minute. Then, they take out the garlic and rinse it. After rinsing, they add a little sea salt to marinate it. Then, they soak the garlic in a thick sauce to let it absorb the flavor. Next, they stuff the garlic into the cow intestines, which helps remove any bad smell and adds a special flavor. They put the prepared intestines in the fridge to chill. Now it's time to fry the intestines. They place the intestines evenly in a frying pan. The hot oil instantly brings out the flavor of the intestines. In just 3 3 seconds, the intestines turn golden and crispy. The fat on the surface starts to seep out. Workers poke small holes in the intestines to let butter get inside. The fried small intestines look tempting with their golden color. The outside is crispy and the inside is tender and juicy. After frying, they cut the intestines into small pieces and fry them with onions on a hot plate. The elasticity of the intestines is preserved during frying, and when you chew, the juices burst in your mouth. For just $3, you can enjoy this delicacy. Do you want to try it?
Here, they deep fry it and turn it into a snack with barbecue seasoning. It's actually really good. My Mexican friend put it in a corn tortilla with cilantro and salsa. Boom, it's amazing. I love it.
Just when you thought this situation couldn't get any worse, it does. On Monday, some of the grand jury documents were released from Epstein's Florida case. And it shows that the prosecutors in Florida knew that Epstein had assaulted minors years before. And then they cut a deal with him that basically let him walk out scot-free. Now, this is a shock because grand jury testimony is usually very secret, and it's stuff that they don't typically unseal. And this investigation took place in 2006. So this shows that authorities knew in 2006 that Epstein had been assaulting minors, and then they let him go. And it wouldn't be another 13 years until he was finally arrested again and then took his own life. All these documents just go to show that Epstein really was given a free pass. All the people in power, all of the rich friends that he had, they all conspired and agreed to let Epstein run whatever ring he wanted to. And if you really study this case, you know that Epstein was connected to the government. There's no doubt in my mind. And these grand jury documents kind of prove it. I mean, how do you have someone who's accused of raping multiple minors get a sweetheart deal, where he's essentially given a slap on the wrist and shown his way out of the building? Oh yeah, if you cater to the rich and powerful, that's how you get a deal like that. The more and more we learn about Epstein, the more people are waking up, but the full truth of this whole thing will never be admitted to. But if you want to be a part of the solution, head to EpsteinJustice.com, sign their petition demanding justice for the victims of Epstein, and send a letter on their website to your member of Congress. This organization wants a body in government to investigate these sex rings and actually honestly, truthfully investigate them and give the people, the American people, the real answers that we deserve.
Why can't NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox run this on their network news?
There are now ammo vending machines in some grocery stores. I'll explain. In a move that has sparked significant debate, American Rounds, a Texas-based company, has installed computerized vending machines that sell ammunition in grocery stores in Alabama, Oklahoma, and Texas.
Of course.
American Rounds stated that their machines use an ID scanner and facial recognition software to verify the purchaser's age, allowing customers over 21 to purchase ammunition at any time of the day. The machines are designed to be as user-friendly as an ATM. However, these ammo vending machines have received mixed reactions. Many gun safety advocates worry that selling bullets out of vending machines will lead to more shootings in the U.S. Nick Saplina, Senior Vice President for Law and Policy at Everytown for Gun Safety, argued that in a country already grappling with high levels of gun violence, normalizing the sale of ammunition in everyday settings like grocery stores could exacerbate the problem. Grant Maggers, CEO of American Rounds, emphasized that the machines offer more security than online sales, where age verification is often lacking, and retail stores where theft is a concern. Do you think ammo should be sold in vending machines? Let us know in the comments.
I'm from Indonesia, where, pew-pew are illegals. But I think they are cool, and I believe everyone has the right to own them. So that's not just the bad guys who have them. What do you think?
The purpose of the prohibition is so much more different than
what we were told.
Surface level. At the time, people were using alcohol to fuel their cars and their homes. So they were using it as energy. And they were creating their own alcohol. So basically everybody, it was a common practice to collect all your food scraps and ferment them in your home. And it was a completely renewable and easily attainable form of energy. And then they just banned it. They said you can't make it, you can have it in your house. And they said it burns so cleanly, we wouldn't have any of the harmful environmental effects that we have today if we continued this practice.
I've never heard that in my entire life.
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. That gave me goosebumps.
It's crazy. I mean, obviously cars these days aren't manufactured in such a way that you could use it, but that's purposeful also.
Pour a little bit of moonshine in there. That'll get it going.
That'll get you going real good. Think about it. what we truly know is that the elites that were making those decisions were still drinking.
Yeah.
They were still drinking during the Prohibition.
That
They'd have
makes
their
so
own
much more
energy.
sense.
There's no money in that if you can sustain yourself.
What was that Shia LaBeouf movie?
Oh yeah, Lawless.
Dude,
So good.
So farmers with good intentions and positive moral values would be running everything instead of these large companies.
Boris Cannon was asked what Earth is she going with in this interview, and she said she's going with the Earth that is beautiful and positive. And I find it fascinating that she talked about how her business was booming, meaning she was already in that vibration. So once you shift to the vibration of the new Earth, that's going to be what you experience. You decide what version of Earth you get by the way you interact with it. If you're in tune with love and being of service and gratitude and knowledge and awakening, that is the vibration of the new Earth. But if you're constantly entertaining yourself with negativity, that's going to be the version of Earth that you experience. So I think it's important to realize that it's all an individual thing. And also, you don't have to wait to shift to that version of Earth. There are an infinite amount of Earths existing at once. We're constantly shifting. This is what Bashar talks about. So the more you love yourself and love
Bashar.
others, and the more you choose forgiveness, and also by letting go of fear, the more you will shift to the new Earth. The new Earth already is here. That's the whole point of this video. If time is an illusion, that means that all realities are existing at once, and we can shift into whatever reality we want. So the more you love yourself and tune into love and nature, the more you will experience the new Earth.
I do not understand. What will happen physically? What will happen to the other members of the family? For example, if one chooses the new land, the other the old. This is just some new age nonsense.
By now, we already know that we only need $10 million for Justin Bieber to come out of retirement to perform for 30 minutes. And the Ambani family has that. But we're gonna take that to a deeper level and see how much $10 million is actually worth for the Ambani family. Okay, so Mukesh Ambani is worth $120.9 billion. And for the sake of it, we're just gonna say that he is worth $120 billion. So we're gonna use 10 million and see the percentage of 120 billion. Bro, you can't even, like, you need more zeros. Okay, so it's a hefty percentage of 0.008%. Let me repeat that. Justin Bieber's $10 million performance is worth 0.008% of Mukesh Ambani alone. So we're gonna put my humble salary of 100K a year to perspective, okay? Okay, so to put in perspective, Justin Bieber's performance is only worth $8.33 to like a normal American. That's so it's basically a price of a latte in New York City. Justin Bieber is worth the price of a latte to the Ambani family. Just let that sink in.
I see your point, but you cannot compare annual income to person's worth. Use their annual income instead. He is worth, he doesn't have it in the bank. One of our resort, people, Bali, Indonesia. It looks luxury and expensive, but it's not if you use US, Australian pounds, or Euro money. Check us out.
Scientists just discovered biblically accurate angels, and what they found will shock you. A newly released study by the Royal Astronomical Society shows documented evidence of a strange phenomena known as Dyson spheres, where they were able to detect intelligent life harnessing energy around home stars. When they released the official footage, the form in which this intelligent life was displayed shocked many. But the reason why this was so mind-blowing is because this looks exactly how the Bible describes a class of angelic beings known as the Ophanim. In Ezekiel 1:15-21, the prophet Ezekiel details about an encounter he had with an fallen angels, and he describes their appearance as wheels intersecting wheels, with the rims around them all covered with eyes. Scientists unknowingly prove biblically accurate angels to be real, and this is not an extraterrestrial phenomena like they think, but actually an interdimensional being that the Bible spoke about thousands of years ago. Science does not disprove Christianity, but instead validates it, because the closer you get to truth, the closer you get to God. Everything is being revealed in this hour because these discoveries are a call to action from God himself to return back to him before it's too late. Seek forgiveness of your sin and ask God to cleanse you, because now is the time to surrender to Jesus Christ.
Shout out to Big Nick. He's a soldier of Christ.
Okay, we made it. I'm just trying to find a little quiet corner so I'm actually able to speak to you guys. But holy crap, I don't think I gathered up the magnitude of the event that I was attending, because all 13, actually it's more than 32 world leaders, it's 39 world leaders that are in this building right now. I don't think there has been an event where more than 39 of some of the most powerful countries in the world are under one roof. So because of that, the security is insane. And the decisions that they're making today affect over 1 billion people that are in NATO. And then obviously anything that they decide is going to affect billions more because, because I don't need to explain. And then because of what they're doing, there are 2,000 journalists here. 2,000. I don't think there's any event, maybe like World Cup final, if that. And like I'll show you the videos and the pictures of the rooms when I get there. And here's the part that's really, really cool. And this is just like, this is the most proud part for me, is the content creators that they invited have access to places and people that journalists don't. Like, just think about the significance of that for a second and how far content creators in general have come. 5 years ago, there was no content creators at all invited. And then today, here we are. So that's a really important point for all of us. Anyway, I'm going to take you throughout the day and see what's going on. I can promise you, no dodgy backroom deals have been struck. And I am still alive. And I'm not going to be cloned if I hear one bit about that. All right, we'll see you later.
I think NATO trying to buy influence. What do you think?
Right now we are here in Italy and we are going inside an old mafia-owned house that's been abandoned since 1980. Check this out. As you can see, everything is still here, frozen in time. And the family that owned it is right there. You can't really see, but they're right there. Don't he look like the mafia? Look at his outfit. Look at his outfit there. Look at his outfit there. Just to show you how crazy they were feared and how frozen in time this was, these are the owner's cars. That's the mom's, and that's the dad's. And what's even crazier is this is a 1976 BMW. That's super rare. But here is the weird part. Their own car is crashed against their own building, which we think is because when they were running or they got into a fight, they crashed into their car from some violence. So just so everyone knows, we're at the Dasso family's house. That's the stuff. So this was his son's room. Look at that, like that gangsta kind of beach vibe, the background. Check this. It goes into like an all smoking area, meeting up with the other mafia members right in here. I mean, it's no joke. Guys, Google the Dasso family. Guys, if you look in the center, we are at the Dasso crime family. That's the mafia. Here we are. We're at an abandoned mafia house here in Italy.
This is a great find. Amazing. I love this video.
This abandoned mansion right here has a very dark history. I'm going to tell you why it's abandoned, and we're about to go inside. Here's the front entrance of the abandoned mansion. And look over here. You can see a cool statue peeking out through the gate. This honestly reminds me something off Harry Potter. Entire family vanished and left out of fear, leaving this whole abandoned mansion alone for over 20 years. It is super sad, and I'm going to tell you the story, but don't quit this video now. You got to hear this story. It's actually crazy. History goes, there was a wealthy Japanese family, and the girl was married to a guy who was a very bad husband. They all lived in Japan. They had 2 kids. She ended up coming here for a business trip and met a French guy here in Italy. They ended up falling in love the first day they met, and when she went back home to Japan, she wanted to leave her husband, and she did. She fled with her 2 kids here, not telling her husband, and lived here and got remarried with the French guy, and they bought this amazing mansion that we're in right now. The problem was the family of the ex-husband ended up finding out about where they lived, and he also fled here to go find her with her French husband to take their kids back. That is where the whole story ends. We don't know what happened. We see notes that talked about how her husband was so bad to her and how she was crying and she had to leave Japan to come here, and she loved her new man. Everything is left here, and I'm going to show you everything. Down here in the basement, you still see their like foosball table, their ping pong table. All of that is still here, and that's what's super scary. They left everything out of fear and ran and fled again with their husband, the French guy now. I mean, all of their stuff is here. They left their bar. Glass stuff is still in there. Portraits on the walls. Everything is still here. Why would you want to leave a place that even your own stairway has lions' heads? It's like so crazy. This was a dream home. Even up here, look at that. The piano, the stained glass. It's beautiful. All left abandoned. One of the best abandoned places to film I have ever seen, but with a dark history. This was one of the kids' rooms because they had 2 kids. Here's the other kids' room. Their stuffed animals are still there on the bed. All their stuff, all still left here, frozen in time. When the ex-husband found the family, they had to take all their stuff. You can see how it's all thrown everywhere. They packed exactly what they could, and they ran fast out. We don't know what happened. And this was their actual room, the couple's room. Look at this. And to top it off, why would you throw away a view like that here in the Italy mountains? Yep, see? Crazy.
I know it looks creepy now, but if you look past all that, you can just see how beautiful that place once was.
There are people who pretend not to see you, but they watch everything that you do. There are people that will not give you credit or clap for you because they feel like they don't want to boost up your ego. There are people that are in secret competition with you. Every time you upload a video, instead of liking it, they're tooting their nose like, she posting again. He posting again. Ugh. Who she thinks she is? But one thing about it, don't you ever stop being you because of them. Continue to do you because, baby, do not ever dim your light for someone else. I don't care if they don't ever clap for you. That's not who you're doing it for. The people that are for you, that's who you're going to attract. Keep doing what you're supposed to do. And do not mind them. Because them is going to stay right where they at.
I'm going to keep being successful and they can keep being spectators. By the way, I post video every single day, 7 days a week at the exact same time.
My friend's eye popped out of its socket and he was holding it in his hand while we drove him to the emergency room recently after getting like a pretty bad head injury. And he's all better now. He got it fixed back up and he can see again out of the eye, which is crazy to me to think about after seeing it in the palm of his hand. But I asked him a few days ago what it looked like because I started to think about, oh, your eye seeing here, and when your eye pops out of your head, you're probably seeing 2 different angles, probably freaks your brain out. But he said he didn't see anything. And I was like, oh, like you just saw total darkness, like it was just completely black? He said, no, I didn't see anything, like I saw nothing. And I really couldn't compute this. Like, what do you mean you saw nothing? And he was trying to explain it. And he was like, you know, when you close your eyes and you see the back of your eyelids. And then I stopped him right there and I said, what do you mean? I've thought for my whole life that when you close your eyes rolled back into your head and your eyelids came down. Sort of like a little cozy cubby hole going to bed. So that was embarrassing. But he said, when you close your eyes, you see the back of your eyelids. So you're not seeing complete total darkness. You still kind of see the light that's reflecting off of you. He said, try to imagine you have both of your eyes open and close one of your eyes. If you try and do this right now, you can probably tell that you don't really see anything. Out of the eye that's closed, you don't see blackness. You don't see the back of your eyelid. Your brain just sort of computes it as nothing since your other eye's open. And he said that is what he saw, which I'm like tripping out over what seeing nothing is like. I'm not sure if that was like the best comparison. He said it was like pretty close, but not exactly what it looked like. But I'm a little pissed. I thought he could literally like see behind his head if he held his eye around.
Seeing nothing is a concept I will never understand because I know what you mean by nothingness, but I just cannot wrap around that idea.
There's your riptide, sucking you off the sea into the next wave of death. Right there. Back up, back up, back up.
This eerie video is by Shannon Rose on TikTok. I'll tag her below. And you may already know what this warning sign is, because she shares a perfect example of what to look out for when a rip current is near. And on some beaches, it could mean certain death. That's why they always say, if in doubt, don't swim out. And to never underestimate the power of the ocean, because at some beaches, you can be swept away at knee-deep water. But the most important
there's a
thing
rip
to
tide.
remember if you're in a rip current is to relax. Swim parallel to shore and know where the closest lifeguards are.
Ooh.
And be on the lookout for any flags and know how to decipher them. This next clip will tell you what to look out for on top of the water. And let me know what you think.
Waves breaking really nicely and cleanly right up until you get to that point there. You can literally see just the water churning back out there, so there's a real risk and danger of being in the water right now, and there as well.
Okay, I live near the ocean. That's how the ocean works. That's not a riptide, it's just the wave going back into the ocean. What do you think?
Russia, it is not my body, my choice. 3 random facts about Russia they didn't tell you. Number 1, in Russia you cannot change your gender even if you're an adult. Nor you can marry people with your same gender. It's just prohibited by the law. In Russia, it is not my body, my choice. Number 2, in Russia you cannot drive until you're 18 years old. So no one drives to the high school. Imagine, it's just not a thing. Number 3, in regions up north, but only up north, winter lasts about 9 months a year. And temperatures go down up until minus 92.2 Fahrenheit. Technically, their cars are running all winter. If you stop your car, you cannot start it again until spring. And the last factor, I'm Russian, but I have never been in a city like that in Russia. The northest I went was St. Petersburg, which was pretty cold. You get frostbites if any pieces of your skin are left outside.
Ooh.
Pretty painful, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well,
so do people go through a lot of gas to keep their car running constantly? Love learning about other countries.
Oh, well, well. It looks like we've solved the mystery of the Antarctica bloodfalls. It turns out that it actually is blood. Now, it took them 100 years to figure out that the Taylor Glacier gets its red color from nanospheres of iron that is deposited into the water. And once that iron hits the oxygen, it turns red. And then in the article, they go on to say that the ancient microbes were 1/100th of the size of human red blood cells. Now, I think it was pretty weird that they used the red blood cell example to describe the size of the iron deposits. It looks to me as if this is another example of the truth being set in plain sight. The blood falls arise when the ice over the subglacial ecosystem over here melts. Now here's what I think. I think that the subglacial ecosystem is a part of the deceased Leviathan that people have been talking about all over TikTok and have been showing on Google Earth. I think that there was a giant beast that died underneath or just on top of Antarctica, and then once it froze over, it held all that blood in place. And just in case you forgot, the reason why blood turns red is because the iron meets the oxygen and combines to form a red color. So whatever creature those blood falls were made out of, it had to have been huge. Perhaps it was made by the Leviathan, and maybe that creature isn't guarding this gate anymore. Or maybe it was another one of the creatures that is supposed to be in between these other ice wall gates. And, you know, there's also that anomaly in the Atlantic Ocean. I think that has something to do with all this information that has been coming out lately as well.
He ain't dead. He gonna wake up and eat everything on this earth. Wicked. That's my Cat William voice, by the way. Don't go anywhere because we still have fire clips after fire clips back to back.
Tattoos all over a beautiful woman is like putting bumper stickers all over a Lamborghini. I realize some men prefer women with some ink. However, my experiences have taught me that their placement and frequency matters. One tattoo hidden in the bikini line isn't much to worry about. However, if she has a classic tramp stamp or more than one visible tattoo while wearing normal clothing, then you might want to ask yourself what she's telling the world.
I don't mind girls, women with tattoo.
Why alcoholics are alcoholics? Because they want to be happy without achievements. This is why drug addicts take drugs. They want to be happy without achievements. This is why everyone's doing dumb and wants to be happy without a reason. This obsession with happiness is destroying people. There's nothing wrong with feeling a little bit sad, nothing wrong with feeling a little bit pissed off, and you need to be putting other things above your happiness, like your responsibility to the people around you. The people you care about need to get some honor and some courage. I have respect to the man who gets up every day, works the job, he hates to pay for his family's life. I respect, and he is not doing it to be happy, he is doing it to be a man. So you might ask yourself what I want you to do. I want you to look at where you are right now, no matter how hard it is, no matter what you're going through, no matter what struggles you are facing, you are still here. You are still here. You are watching this video. You are breathing. You are in the air. You are still alive. So I need you to take a second and look back. But if you overcame but are a resilient, you are worth more than you are currently allowing yourself to believe. So get the out of your own head. Get out of your own way and believe in yourself. Be great. Be prime.
It's fun, then fun with problems, then just problems. And some people do it to avoid pain. There's no happiness in addiction.
I love this clip.
If you are not really enjoying while you pursue the goal, whatever it is in your life, if you're not really enjoying the doing because you are so focused on becoming and achieving and arriving at this future point that the enjoyment of the doing is so greatly diminished or disappears completely because all you want to do is arrive, but you're not there yet. That's the nature of stress, how stress arises. Stress means there is a continuous focus on the next moment. And this is produced by the human mind through thinking. You are torn away internally from the present moment into a non-existent, because future never exists except as a thought. You are torn into this so-called future, which is a never land, because it can never arrive. You can never reach the future, because the moment it becomes reality in your life, it's the present moment. So by having this mindset, an excessive focus on becoming or arriving or achieving, you lose completely the being dimension. And then your life is completely out of balance, even if you achieve, in the eyes of the world, fame or wealth or worldly success, and yet you are a frustrated and unhappy human being, perhaps pretending that you are happy, but you're not. And then you have to take drugs or alcohol or go from one relationship to another or compulsively pursue the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, accumulate more of this and this. And so that's not a mastery of life. Our purpose here is to have that balance, and here the emphasis, of course, of this teaching is on finding awareness of being, which is why I talk so much about the present moment, because this is always the moment your attention goes fully into the present moment, you have withdrawn attention from becoming and doing. What arises is the being dimension.
This is so good. So important to be present. Let me know how you feel about this.
You ever heard this saying, the eyes don't lie, Chico? The Bible warns us about the same thing. Watch this. You can almost sense any energy anybody's carrying just by staring into their eyes. And I kid you not, when you fill yourself up with the Holy Spirit, some people will stop making eye contact with you. Matthew 6:22, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So if the light without is darkness, how deep is that darkness? Whenever I used to cast out demons, I would stare directly into the eyes, into their souls. And I noticed every single one of them wouldn't stare back into my eyes. They would look down. You can almost see the terror in these demons' eyes. I've seen eyes go completely pitch black, I've seen eyes change color, a deep dark red color. And now every interaction I have, I stare directly into the eyes, into the soul, to see what entity I'm dealing with. The Holy Spirit will give you that intuition to be able to decipher between good and evil. The eye will tell you everything you need to know.
I agree. But what about someone has PTSD, anxiety, and doesn't make eye contact? Or sometimes, it's cultural.
Food is a secret weapon for healing and reversing every gut condition out there, but it's so disrespected, it's crazy. Hey, I'm Dr. James Nall. In fact, many people complain that this food irritates their gut, but that's only because it's so effective at scrubbing old mold, yeast, and toxins from your stomach, small intestine, and colon. It also helps to raise the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, which helps to kill off bad bacteria like strep, E. coli, and H. pylori, which are responsible for so many gut issues today. This food is antiviral, antibacterial, and loaded with folic acid, chlorophyll, and alkaloids that fight disease. And this food has the most bioavailable protein that you're going to find because your body doesn't have to do much in order to use it. And if you're concerned at all about your lymphatic system, this food is highly effective at draining and purging toxins from it. This food is none other than leafy greens like spinach, butterleaf lettuce, and romaine lettuce. If you're interested in learning how to harness the power of foods to reverse and heal your gut conditions, send me a DM with the word green.
I hear spinach is the most toxic plant you can eat, full of oxalic acid, as are many foods except meat-based products. He looks ill, by the way.
This is the fastest way to heal brain fog as well as immune issues. You never want to fry your meat.
What?
It removes the majority of the minerals from the actual meat. We're gonna add some olive oil, some salt. We're gonna add some more water. All right, first step is 100% pure virgin olive oil. You can use pretty much as you would like. Keep in mind you can also season this beforehand. And salt every offering, Leviticus 2:13. You want to use about 5 to 10 grams of organic sea salt a day. You could probably get away with that same amount for this meal too. It's a covenant of salt that will last forever. Numbers 18:19. This stuff heals you. This is how our ancestors ate. Salt actually stimulates GABA, which is the peace hormone neurotransmitter that controls everything else in the body. That's why we're told to salt every offering. The magnesium is a game changer for the HEART. Next thing on the list is going to be some ground turmeric. You want to add the turmeric in with black pepper to activate the anti-inflammatory properties. Everything we've added so far increases your testosterone, as well it remineralizes and detoxifies the body. Now, not only do you add salt to everything, but you also add key limes. Key limes are key to healing.
Dude.
You can actually toss the entire thing in there after you wash it thoroughly and let it just kind of sit there. But what I like to do regardless is kind of, marinate it and get it a little bit more prepped. If I didn't already do it before, I'll do it again because you can really use like 4 or 5 limes each time you do this. This is the best thing for you. You also want to eat the pulp. That's going to heal your gut as well as your brain. Toss another little steak in there and go ahead and get her prepped up and ready to go. We're going to kind of turn this deal, so to speak. Now, of course, how can we forget the oregano? Go ahead and get some of that up in there too. This meal is going to mineralize your hair. You know that skin and hair issues come from a copper deficiency. This is basically the #1 meal for copper next to beef liver. So eat this every other day or every day, whatever allows your body enough time to process the food out properly. This is gonna heal as long as you do it correctly. You intermittent fast and you're fasting 12 to 24 hours a day. This is gonna heal all your issues.
Get a bigger pan next time, my brother. And I want to see the finished product. And by the way, salt actually makes the fluid stick to the cells in the body. Barbara O'Neill taught me that.
Know that we are one of the few civilized nations in the world that continues to call Alzheimer's and dementia. Does anybody know what it is? Type 3 diabetes. Google it. You'll see the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, Kellogg University, Berkeley, National Library of Medicine, National Institute of Health. We have known that insulin resistance in the brain, which is called type 3 diabetes, is the leading cause of Alzheimer's. And then we developed this lie, this myth around Alzheimer's that people were losing their memory. That is not true. People are losing access to their memory, and access can be restored. So type 2 diabetes, I want you to look up COMT, catechol O-methyltransferase, and diabetes. You will be astounded how highly linked that genetic mutation is to diabetes because insulin also requires raw materials for the cell to accept it. The primary role of insulin, by the way, is not to lower blood sugar. The primary role of insulin is to block any other form of energy use in the body. This is why people that eat the most sugar have the highest body fat, because insulin doesn't lower blood sugar by bringing sugar down. Insulin lowers blood sugar by blocking the body's ability to use any other fuel source.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." Ooh. She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom, and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go, and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
The second one was the devil, probably.
Over in Indiana, a bunch of Amish dudes showed up to an inner city basketball court in Fort Wayne and gave everybody the work. Indiana kind of cool sometimes. Some Amish hoopers pulled up to an inner city park yesterday and gave them that work. Not having any footage of this is an absolute crime.
Wow,
In 2024, the
that.
fact we don't have this footage it's a crime against humanity. Look at the vertical from that guy. Look at is that a shooting sleeve? He's got he's got that on. He's got that shit on. This guy's locked in. Lockdown defense, bro. Lockdown defense. The fella's locked in. Here's the thing. If you are complaining about being hot this summer, these guys hoop in this with the suspenders on. You think these Amish hoopers have, groupies? Like, I would say cleat chasers, but what's the equivalent of that in basketball? Groupies, right? This is the only clip I could find of Amish hoopers from last summer.
Whoa,
Not
look
bad.
at that.
Not bad.
Ezekiel dropping trees, folks. I don't get it. Are they supposed to be made by angels or something?
I felt like it was kind
Oh, disclaimer. This following clip is disturbing.
of warm juice. It was like room temperature, and it didn't stick to my face right away. It didn't burn right away. So I just thought I had just been pranked.
In April of 2021,
21-year-old college student Nafia Ikram was heading up her driveway into her home after a long shift working as a pharmacy technician. But little did she know, there were 3 men in a red car parked just outside of her house, watching her every move, and their intentions for her would become a living nightmare. As seen here in the home security footage of her own home where she lived at with her parents, she was heading up the driveway when this man exited that red car and ran up behind her with a bucket full of battery acid and splashed it right in her face. Afterwards, the man immediately fled back to the car and the car fled the scene. And now Nafia is just kind of aimlessly wandering back down her driveway. She can't see at all. All she knows is that there is a extreme burning sensation taking over her entire face. And she would even say that because she was wearing contacts at the time, the power of this battery acid would melt these contacts into her eyes, and so she could no longer see. Nafia would say in an interview later that whoever was behind this, she firmly believes, knows her and intentionally targeted her. As far as interviews go, here's the most recent one of her. This is several years following that 2021 attack, and then even years after this, in 2024, this year, the healing process was very difficult for Nafia. She couldn't eat well, she could not see. She's just now, years after, updating everyone saying that she can finally kind of blurrily make out how many fingers her relatives are holding up when they, try to test that with her vision. But ultimately, she says she does not want to give any more power to her attackers than they already have for what they've done to her. And so she doesn't hold anger towards them because to this day, her attackers have not been caught. There have been no arrests made. Nafia is only focused on emotionally and spiritually and physically healing.
To do this to another person is beyond my ability to understand. Destroying a person's life, how sad. God bless her.
I'm an 85-year-old clinical psychologist with 64 years of practice experience. The mind listens to everything that goes on around it. It also listens to everything that goes on inside of it. What that means is, if you criticize yourself, if you say negative things about yourself, not only does the mind record it, but it has an effect on your well-being. It has an effect on your emotional state. The same is true if you say positive things about yourself. That might sound silly to you, but it's true. If you say positive things about yourself, what's called affirmations, and you do it on a regular basis, your mind starts to believe it and soak it in, and it becomes part of you. You can think of it as, imagine what went on in childhood. Suppose you got a lot of criticisms and a lot of no, you can't, and no, you won't, and all that kind of stuff. You know that affects you for the rest of your life. And if you hear a lot of positive things, that affects you for the rest of your life. Well, the same is true for what you feed into it as adults. So if you take time every day to say 4 or 5 positive things to yourself, that means 150 times a month. That's 1,800 times a year. Your mind is hearing positive things about yourself. That will have an effect on your emotional well-being.
Our internal monologue can be our best friend or worst enemy. And as Christians, we don't do affirmations. We meditate on God's words.
Facts about money that will blow your mind. Warren Buffett's son believed that his dad was checking security alarm systems and had no idea that their family was rich until he was in his mid-20s. After originally going bankrupt, Mike Tyson now earns almost $1 million a month from his cannabis company. This man stole $200,000 from a bank in Ohio and then spent 52 years evading capture, living under a different name in a different state. He told his wife and daughter before he passed away on his deathbed a few years ago. Craigslist is generating still today $600 million a year with only 50 employees. Tipping was illegal in 6 different states 100 years ago because of how unpopular it was at the time. 100 years ago, a car cost less than $300. That's less than $5,000 in today's money. 42 different buildings in New York City have their own zip code. The US spent over $100 billion to prepare for Y2K. It's not a discount if you otherwise would not have bought it.
The trick to money is having some. And the last one about sale items, you should send to every woman.
I am so disgusted by this documentary that just came out on Netflix. This covers the case of Jonathan Mayer, who has fathered at least 600 children. Although the sperm banks say it could be more like 3,000. He was scamming the sperm banks and he was telling these families that he only wanted to help 5 families. When in reality, he was doing this 140 times a month and traveling internationally. He's not the only one. He has a group of friends who are also mass donators. There's a group in Kenya that is aiming to have these men father at least 200 babies a year. These are mostly white men, and one of the guys says that he can't wait to bleach Kenya with his genes. This guy was even mixing his sperm with another man and playing sperm roulette. As you can imagine, the women in this documentary are very unhappy and they take him to court. I've never seen anything like this, and any guy who does anything remotely close to this needs to get know what you guys think in the comments and hit follow for more recommendations.
Bleach Kenya? That is wow. I hope he get justice.
Hello, friends. I want to share my experience with my colon cancer and Eziac T. At the age of 49, August of 2007, I started with a stomach pain, and when I didn't get any relief, I went to the emergency room. They took a MRI. After they took the MRI, they discovered that my colon was completely grown shut with a tumor. So they did surgery, took out 12 inches of my colon. And after the surgery, in the recovery room, I just felt so much like I probably won't live much longer. And so thinking about that, thinking about leaving my wife and 9 children was difficult. And yet I had such a peace to be able to go home to my eternal home and be with Jesus. Well, after surgery, they wanted to do the radiation, the chemo, things they normally do. But my wife and I discussed it, and we decided to try the genuine Eziac T instead. Well, here it is almost 17 years later, and I'm still completely cancer-free. When I was 9 years old, I had the difficulty of losing my father to colon cancer. And right now, I'm taking the Eziac T as just a maintenance. I appreciate what it has done for me, and I highly recommend the Eziac T.
It sounds amazing. I watched more of his video. He said the improvement of health dose is 3 ounces 3 times per day. It is recommended to take the tea for 6 months to see more significant improvement. But always do your own research, folks.
This is Dave Pascoe. He's 61 years old, but his epigenetic age is only 37. He spends $30,000 per year on his biohacking protocol to achieve this amazing result. Here are the 7 pillars of his regimen: sleep, exercise, nutrition, supplementation, limited environmental exposure, infrared sauna, cold exposure, and Dave eats clean food with organic meats and toxin-free vegetables. He minimizes contact with environmental toxins by using filtered water and air. Additionally, he uses an infrared sauna to help detoxify from the outside world. He practices cold exposure as well to boost immunity. Despite all this hard work, Dave still finds time to watch Netflix occasionally or enjoy a beer at night.
He looks good for his age, but he doesn't look 37. What do you think?
Disturbing facts that you wish you didn't know. Born on November 4, 1983 in Ukraine, Oksana Malaya was a normal child at birth but was later neglected by an alcoholic father at the age of 3. She lived surrounded by dogs, so when Malaya was found by the authorities at 7.5 years old, she was unable to talk, lacked many basic skills, and physically behaved like a dog. And like a feral child, she would run around all fours, bark, sleep on the floor, and even took care of her hygiene like a dog. Social services eventually took Malaya away from her parents' custody and was eventually transferred to a foster home where she underwent years of specialized therapy and education. Known as the Grizzly Man, Timothy Treadwell had huge love and admiration for grizzly bears, so he would typically set up his tent in a large open field called the Big Green located in Alaska. Treadwell would often film himself getting real close and personal with the bears, claiming that he had developed a sense of trust and mutual respect with them. But on October 2003, Treadwell and his girlfriend were discovered dead at their camp as they were both mangled brutally by a bear.
Don't get why certain people choose to have kids only to neglect them. Poor girl. And on the second one, you had it coming, man.
Why do North Africans look different and lighter from other Africans? The answer isn't what you think it is, and might shock you. Because North Africans mainly speak Arabic, many assume that they are simply Arabs that migrated into the region. But that's not the case. Many of the people from the area, stretching from Libya to Morocco, have Berber ethnic origin, who are their own people, separate from Arabs. The paternal origin of Berbers goes back to Neolithic North Africans. This is how these people looked for reference. This population itself was around 60% West Eurasian. Majority of Maghrebi paternal Y DNA is from this population, and their overall ancestry peaks in Tiznit Berbers at 45%. Now, the reason why modern North Africans look lighter than those Neolithic North Africans is because during the Neolithic time frame, they received a large migration of European farmers that came from Spain that looked like this. This population did not migrate as conquerors or colonizers, as their paternal lineage didn't really leave a trace on North Africa, and they mainly got assimilated through the maternal side. If you remember, European farmers descend from farmers from Anatolia in Middle East, and this ancestry is shared in high amounts amongst Southern Europeans and Levantine Arabs. Hence why this admixture made North Africans look more similar to Arabs and not the actual Arab migration or colonization, which didn't leave a significant mark on the DNA of North Africans. And on every genetic chart, Maghrebis clearly stand out from Arabs due to their North and South Saharan African admixture.
North Africa natives are Amazigh, Berber.
Rick Ross had a problem. His name wasn't Rick Ross. He was using the name of a famous kingpin named Freeway Rick Ross. Why? Because, well, Freeway was serving life in prison. He not getting out. It's like, stupid, he got out. So they told the rapper Rick Ross, who we're now going to call Rose. Rose, he said, yeah. They said, he out. He said, who out? They said, Rick Ross. He said, Rick Ross. Oh, but Rose wasn't really having no problems until he started going on interviews. And people were saying, bro, you took your whole identity. He said, no, you not understand it. My name used to be Big Boss. Somebody mispronounced it and said Rick Ross. So I said, that's me. So it says here that Freeway Rick Ross wanted to have a conversation with you while he was in jail and you just didn't show up. He said, what? His assistant said, Rose. He said, Rose. He said, I'm in an interview. What you need? Rick Ross suing you. Here the paper. Sorry, sir. Ah, yes. It was time to go to court. You see, Rick Ross was suing the other Rick Ross because his name is Rick Ross. But not only that, this Rick Ross claims that his whole identity was stolen. Peep the beard. Peep the bald hair. The selling stuff that Rick Ross always says he does in his song. Now, listen closely. He decides to sue Def Jam because they were Rick Ross's label. They said, how much you want? He said, 10 million. They said, 10? Jay-Z. Jay-Z now gets involved in the lawsuit because he was the president of Def Jam at the time. So they gather up a bunch of lawyers. So they go to court. Freeway Rick Ross was like, are you watching the TikToker's video? The judge said, Rose. And here's where things start to get wicked. Secrets start getting spilled. Rose says, Your Honor. Judge says, are you a kingpin? A Bausch, if you will. Rose said, no. The crowd goes, the crowd goes silent. He goes, so what were you before you were a rapper? Rose goes, a corrections officer. The judge goes, you can't make this up. Freeway Rick Ross, he said, yeah, where do I get my check? The judge said, write this down. I still, zip code, lost. Freeway Rick Ross said, I still. What? The judge said, yeah, I'm gonna go with Officer Rose on this one. See, in the judge's words, this is actually more difficult than it seems. It falls under fair use and freedom of speech. How much did Freeway Rick Ross really help this Rick Ross as a rapper? You know him as Rick Ross, the rapper. Essentially, if you opened a store called Beyonce in a town where no one knew who Beyonce was, how much did Beyonce really help? I don't know.
Literally what the court said, we don't know. But this is my best guess, said the judge. So Rose, that's not my name. You heard the course. My name Rick. Oh. New Rick goes on an interview. He says, yeah, I did win. He was just a little desperate. Freeway Rick says, I was desperate. I just got out of jail. All right, well, you also a snitch. Yeah, while they was calling me a corrections officer, I seen the paperwork. You a snitch. You go, I am a snitch. What? I'm a tattletale. While I was selling $1 million a day worth of... Let's just say I worked with some officers that were doing things they shouldn't have been doing. They said, you want to tattle on them? And I said, my pleasure. Rick said, why don't you just be Rick Ross over there and I'll be Rick Ross over here?
Freeway Rick Ross, aka the real Franklin Saint.
Wanted to see something about giants.
Yes, giants.
So we're going to start off really big. How's that sound? Here's the biggest thing I've got. This is from an 18-foot person, estimated. Big toe bone. There it is.
That is this part.
Yeah, your very end big toe bone. It's been x-rayed, and this person had broke their toe bone,
Ooh.
and then it healed up. This is from an 18-foot person.
We were
18.
out at, we were in Turkey, and we were out at the village where we believed Noah's house to be. And years ago, they had dug up a grave that we believe was Noah's wife's grave. Just looking around where the hole for her grave was, where they had dug it up, and we found some bones. And these bones here have been identified by a radiologist and a couple of physicians. None of them want to put their name on their statement, but here's what they told us we have. That we have a human finger with a touch of arthritis. And this is the finger, this is this part of the finger. See, it's this, and this.
Most of the world won't believe it. I do. Alright folks, I'm going to end our video with this coming clip. Be kind to each other. If you haven't subscribed, please do. There's a free gift below. And if you want to buy me coffee or support me through Patreon, the links are also in the description below. Thank you for watching. Have a prosperous day. And God bless.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.